Hello, my friend. On today's episode, I have a very special guest back on the podcast for the third time. It's Wendy Shafranski. She's a Business Unicorns coach, co-owner of Vero Strength and Conditioning down in Florida. And today we're talking about boundary setting. We're talking about how to set boundaries with yourself, how to set boundaries with the people you work with and live with in your life, and how setting boundaries is a form of self-care and self-respect. So if you want to do a better job of creating great boundaries with yourself and the people around you, this is a great, short, but very tactical episode for you. So keep on listening. Hello, fitness business nerds. What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Business of Unicorns podcast. Before we jump into today's topic, I just want to let you know that we have a bunch of really cool free tools on our website that you can go and grab at any time. Go grab some right now. In fact, many of you struggle to figure out how to make the next right offer in your marketing and sales. And we want you to generate more leads by making really compelling offers to people on your email list, to people on social media, to grab people's attention and get them to take action. And so we put together a whole list of our best converting leads in one PDF. You can go grab it right now on our website, businessunicorns.com. Click the link down in the show notes, get it. It's free. Start making better offers and converting more leads. Which brings me to today's podcast, which is a guest who's been on the podcast. I think this is the third time. You know her, you love her, you're excited to have her back. I'm very excited to have her back. It's Wendy Shafranski from Vero Strength and Conditioning. Welcome back to the podcast, my friend.
Hi, thank you.
So good to have you. Wendy, since you've been on the podcast last you joined the Business of Unicorns team.
Yep.
So welcome to your first podcast as a Business of Unicorns coach. What a pleasure to have you back. I'm excited for today's topic. Can you maybe just say, for those of you who are meeting you for the first time, a little about yourself, a little about Vero Strength and Conditioning?
Yes, yeah. So Vero Strength and Conditioning has been around. We're celebrating 16 years this month, so a long time. We do large group training and personal training. Have a staff of about 10 trainers. And I think in joining for Business for Unicorns, it really allowed me to create systems and take more time off the floor and working in the business. And, it's just been a game changer. So joining the team has been awesome.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We've been so lucky to have you. What a friggin' delight. And I think you all will see what some of Wendy's superpowers are today as we talk through today's topic. And so today's topic came actually as a result of a past episode. It was, I think, episode 412 was I recorded with Ben and was talking about burnout. We're talking about burnout for gym owners. And Wendy literally sent me a Slack message afterwards being like, hey, you all talked about boundary setting on this call, but I have more to say on this topic.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. When I was listening, I'm going, when are they, it was a great advice, but I was like, when are they going to talk about boundaries? And it was just kind of wedged in at the end.
Yes.
So I have a lot of experience with this.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I'll tee this up like this, that, I'll just circle back to the topic of burnout for a second, because I think it's important to this topic, which is it's very common for small business owners and leaders of all kind to experience burnout from time to time. And there's a lot of things to help overcome burnout. In fact, go back to that episode 412. Ben and I listed a bunch of things that we do in our experience to help overcome burnout and address it once it happens. But I think, to Wendy's point here, one of the things that is maybe the most proactive thing you can do to help avoid burnout in the first place is have really clear boundaries. Mm-hmm. And boundaries are really just, we could define them in a second, but really it's about your ability to make it clear how you want people to treat you, mm-hmm. Right? And that goes at all levels, from clients to employees, to family members, neighbors, friends, right? There's everyone in our life. We teach people how to treat us through our actions every day. And the more clear you can be about ways you want to be treated that lift you up, right? Mm-hmm. That energize you, and avoid being treated in ways that sucks your energy out of you, And so that's kind of the topic today. So let's just start this. When did you first remember, going back to, your past leadership experience, when did you first start to realize that setting boundaries was an important thing for you to do?
Yeah, well, a couple of years ago, I was stressed the F out. Like I was just, I think as gym owners, we're so used to serving people, and that's part of our identity. So you don't say no a lot, or everyone has your phone number and they need you a lot. And, your employees, your members, anybody in your life. Yep. And so like me, if you kind of hang your identity on that, like I get things done for people,
Yeah.
it can be overwhelming. And I was very stressed out. I think it showed in my body language. And I decided to go to therapy.
Mm,
And my therapist, after, the first few times of getting to know each other, he said, I think that you are codependent. I'm like, what?
mm.
I am a strong, independent woman. What do you mean? And, but he's like, in the way he explained it is, no, you need people to need you. Like you kind
Hmm.
of get off on that.
Yeah.
And so I really had to look at myself and go, you know what? I think he's right.
Yeah.
And, so it led to just learning, setting some boundaries, learning how to say no, and just really setting boundaries as a form of self-respect.
Yeah.
I had to learn that.
Yeah, I love putting it that way, and I imagine a lot of people listening to the podcast will be like nodding their head along with what you just said, right? Because I think
Mhm.
so many of them are in the same position because most people start gyms because they want to help other people, and that's what drives us, gets us out of bed every morning, excites us about our jobs, right? And that could become a codependent situation where we really need the validation of being able to help people
Right.
to
Yep.
feel good about ourselves. So I love thinking about it as a form of self respect. All right, so thinking through, what are some of the most important boundaries you've set that have been helpful in maintaining your career so far?
Okay, yeah, I think there's two ways to think about boundaries. One is setting them with others,
Hmm.
and that could be, letting people know that you're working certain hours and you're not going to
Sure.
answer the phone at other hours, or
Hmm.
establishing a gym phone number that they text, and
Hmm.
not giving them your personal number. But then there's also setting boundaries with yourself.
Sure.
I get up really early in the morning, and that's kind of like my go time, and I create and write, and it can be 4 in the morning.
Hmm.
And so I would finish my to-do list, and then I'd be looking for more things to do. And I'd have to really like set boundaries with myself saying, hey, you've already worked 10 hours.
Mm.
If you leave this till tomorrow, it's going to be okay. And so
Yeah.
it's a lot of like rationalizing that within yourself as well.
Yeah, I think there's a really good distinctions, right? There's boundaries that you can set with yourself, and I'm going to pull that string a little bit more, and then we'll circle back to the one I think that people find more top of mind on this topic, which is setting boundaries with others. But let's start with yourself. So maybe just kind of walk through an example of like a boundary that you've set with yourself, and how do you do it, right? Because I think all the time, you and I both as coaches, we talk to people almost every day who
Mhm.
have really good intentions for things they're going to do, things they
Mhm.
say they're going to do, things they even write down that they're going to do, and then they don't. Right. I imagine setting boundaries with yourself can be the same thing, which is
Right.
you're really clear about this is this thing you want to do or you don't want to do. And then you just kind of steamroll over that
Mhm.
desire
Mhm.
on a regular basis. So how do you make it stick for yourself?
Well, one is just like I mentioned before, just rationalizing that it's never for me a matter of not getting things done; it's doing too
Sure.
much.
Yep.
And so I have to really level with myself and say like, all right, you've gotten enough done. You don't need to make more work for yourself.
Hmm.
Creating a to-do list that's maybe prioritized, and when you have those real top priorities done, it's okay to or
Yeah.
taking a lunch break, things like that, just to
Hmm.
refresh. Um, I put my phone on do not disturb at 6 p.m. Everyone knows they're not going to hear from me after 6 p.m. And
Yep.
there's never any sort of emergency that, that,
Yeah.
that worked out in the wrong way. And then also I think, at first, sometimes there's power in the word no, and you can
Hmm.
do it delicately where you're not just shutting someone down. And
Sure.
if you're not comfortable with that yet, or maybe you're not sure, I think the phrase "let me think about it" is
Yep.
great, because so many times in my past, especially when it came to like volunteer work and things like that, I would just say yes because it sounds like a great idea, and then once it rolled around, I'm like, oh god, I got to do this. So it's saying, let me think about it, weighing the pros and cons, how it's going to
Hmm.
affect you or not affect you, and then getting back to the person in a timely manner, obviously, as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Hey there, Business Unicorns podcast listeners. If you haven't had a chance yet to leave us a rating and a review on wherever platform you listen to this podcast, it would be so awesome if you take just a quick second to do that. And here's why. Number one, by leaving us a rating and review, you'll allow our podcast audience to grow so more gym owners can build a life and a gym they love. And number two, by leaving us feedback, you'll help us shape the future of the podcast so we know what you like, we know what you don't like, and we know what types of content is resonating and what else should we create for you. Thank you so much for your consideration. And now back to the show.
100%. Yeah, there's so much about that I love. I think one thing I'll add to the conversation, which is even when it comes to boundaries that you're setting for yourself, right? I'm going to turn my phone off at this time. I'm going to take a lunch break. I'm going to work out. I'm going to, whatever the boundaries are you set with yourself, even though they're for you. One of the things that I found for myself, and I've seen time and time again with unicorn sighted clients and others, is it's still useful to tell other people about those boundaries that you have for yourself, not only to communicate, when and how you want to take up space, but also to hold yourself accountable, right? I think if you tell your whole team and some of your clients that, hey, I go, my phone's off after 6 o'clock. Right. Then not only does that let them all know you can't be reached, but it holds you accountable to doing it. Right. Once you said it, you're just more likely to want to be consistent with that word you've put out there. And the same thing is true for taking a lunch break. It's one thing to put on your calendar. It's another thing to tell your whole team, hey, from 12 to 1, I leave the building and I'm going to take some lunch because I need some time to be by myself for an hour every day. I do think, getting buy-in from them, communicating it to them helps hold you accountable, and it makes the habit stickier when you feel like you're on the hook with other people.
And it gets more comfortable. Everybody knows it's just a thing.
Exactly. Because I think the number one, and tell me if you agree with this or you've heard something different, but I think when I hear, unicorn signing members, gym owners talk about this, one of the reasons they don't set more boundaries that are healthy for themselves is they feel guilty. Right? They feel guilty for being away from the gym at all, ever. Right. They feel guilty for taking that lunch break or that 30 minutes to work out. They feel guilty for not being available all the time, always. Right. And so that the one way to interact with that guilt is to just say it out loud to people. And you'll realize very early, they're fine.
It's self-care if it really comes down to it. And then if you are caring for yourself, you're only going to do your job better, be a better boss, be a better partner, whatever.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. When your cup is full and you can really operate from a place of being fully present with people, right, and not burnt out or distracted, then you're going to be better all around for everyone. So they will all benefit from you having had those boundaries in the first place. Yeah, that's so great. So let's talk a little bit more about boundaries with other people, right? Because oftentimes boundaries with other people can involve a bit of a negotiation, or even if it's not, it doesn't feel like a negotiation. It's a little bit of a give and take, a little bit of a dance with some relationships. So can you talk a little bit more about the kinds of boundaries, the times you said no to other people, not just yourself?
Yeah. Saying no, I mean, what comes top of mind is kind of like, being involved with volunteer work, because I would become on a board, and then all of a sudden I'm the head of the board, and then I'm chairing an event, because if you are a doer, you kind of just naturally get sucked into those roles. So that's an example. At work, it's sometimes I have a VA and he handles admin stuff, but some people want to text you. So it's a matter of, hey, you're going to get a much better result quicker if you email Pedro. Here's his email address. Or in my other company that I have, the supplement company, our media guy likes to text me, like rapid fire texts. I do better with email. I can organize my life better that way, keep it in my inbox. And I said, you know what? I don't want to miss anything. So from now on, I'd like you to email me. And then that way, so I think seeing unread text stresses me out. So, I didn't want to, so it's just kind of like, this is the way I like to work. This is what's going to be the best outcome from everyone. So you're not like, it's my way or the highway. It's like, this is going to work best for everyone.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So a lot of those, and there's a theme here with the examples so far. A lot of those are just how you want to be communicated with, right? And I think that's important because it really feeds into how you spend your time. It feeds into how you process information. It feeds into how you get your work done, right? And so I think that's a real important kind of set of boundaries for a lot of folks. What do you do? Can you think of an example of a time where someone was like, no, Wendy, I can't do it that way for you? Like, how do you navigate when someone maybe is not willing to meet you where you're at?
Yeah, I think, they might not have come out and said no.
Sure. I wouldn't say no to you either, to be fair.
But maybe they keep, they keep texting you with their
Yes.
issues every week. At that point, you can explain to them, your need to,
Hmm.
to kind of get away from the situation, and also say, hey, I want to give you my full attention.
Hmm.
Let's start, scheduling monthly check-ins with each other. And it's something that, they're being charged for. And it's not like you're just
Yep.
giving free advice and you're a therapist and you're somebody's, everything.
Yeah.
So there's been those situations.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think, because at the end of the day, when we talk about boundaries, and from terms of communication, it's often about creating an agreed upon structure, right?
Hmm.
This is the
Right.
way we're going to do X. This is the pulse at which we're going to meet. This is the format we're going to send information to each other, right?
Hmm.
And so I think when someone's like, well, no, that doesn't really work for me because I'm really a texter. Okay, well, if we're going to text, can we at least say it's one text a week that's update on Friday morning? Can we at least say that, you can text me, but I also need weekly wrap up in my inbox, right? Like,
Hmm.
there's some times where you have to kind of like do a little dance with folks to find what works for both of you, but it's so worth that effort. It's
Right.
so worth that effort because when you can find the right pulse for both of you, then both of you less stressed, get the work done faster with less
Yeah.
friction. I think that it's so valuable. When at this point now, you've been coaching gym owners for a while, and you've had lots of conversations with gym owners. What do you see as some of the most common boundaries they need to set in their life or in their work?
I think a lot of times their employees become their friends.
Mm-hmm.
So in that regard, there's a lack of boundaries, and sometimes they're afraid to delegate. And I
Yeah.
think a big part of in the workplace of setting boundaries is to learn to delegate and
Yep.
trust and have SOPs and all these things that we always
Yeah.
preach.
100%. Yeah, I agree with that one so much. That, again, listen, I'll be the first in this podcast to say, I think it's okay to be friends with the people
Mhm.
you work with, but it can't come at the expense of being effective at your job, right? If your friendship, your care for people is getting in the way of you doing simple things like giving them feedback or
Mhm.
delegating things to them, right? Or, those kinds of things, then that's not really a effective friendship at all, right?
Yeah.
I don't have friends that I can't tell them when they do something I don't like, right? I
Mhm.
don't have I don't have employees who I can't ask to do work. Right.
Right.
So if your friendship is getting in the way, that the boundaries there are a little too fuzzy. I think that's a really good one. What else have you seen?
Um, just, I think being everything to everyone when it
Yeah.
comes to especially to members, and not wanting to disappoint.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, that's it. Just being that kind of, I think I'll say this with all love in my heart because I feel like I've been in this position as well. It starts to have a little bit of like a savior complex, that,
Hmm.
where we get really so connected to this idea that we're helping everyone. We're here to support everyone. We're everything to everyone, as you said. And we really get filled up by that. So doing less of it or setting boundaries for it can feel like we're letting ourselves and other people down. When the
Right.
reality is, and you've made this point so many times already in this conversation, is that no, no, no. When you have that time and space for yourself and you're treated the way you want to be treated by others, you're more available for them,
Right.
right?
Right.
You're more effective in helping them. And I think that reframe is what, a lot of people need. So let me ask you this last question, I think, which is for folks who are listening, like, yes, I need all of this. I need
Mhm.
more boundaries in all areas of my life with
Yeah.
myself, with my team, with my clients. Where do they start? What's like a first step?
I think it's kind of take an audit of the things that maybe are stressing or burning you out,
Yeah.
and identify what you're comfortable with and what your limits are.
Yep.
And then from there, just get clear about your limits and
Mm.
then communicate them. And
Yeah.
then, is it going to be perfect? No. I mean, people need reminders.
Yes.
Things tend to slack off a little bit, but just stick to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great one. Just do a little audit of how you spend your time, what's rubbing you the wrong way, what do you
Mhm.
really like, when do you find yourself being most effective, and then make that list of like, okay, what do you need from yourself and other people to live in that space where you can do your best work and feel your best on a regular basis,
Yes.
and then start
Yep.
asking for those things.
Yep.
I think that's fantastic. I think it's a great roadmap. And friends, if you want more help with this, just come join Unicorn Society. Wendy can be your coach. she can help you with this on a regular basis. That's amazing. Well, thanks for this great conversation, Wendy. I think this is a
Thank
great one. It's
you.
short but practical, and I think super effective. If people want to learn more about you or any of the businesses that you run, how do they find you?
My website for my gym is Vero strength.com. And then I have a supplement company as well called Cirrus, Cerus Performance.
I love it. Yeah, go check it out, my friends. And don't forget, we also have a lot of free tools on our website, businessofunicorns.com. Click the link down below in the bio, especially if you want to get that PDF of our best converting offers so you can get more leads and convert them. Thanks again, Wendy. I really
Thank
appreciate you.
you.
We'll see you on the next one.
All right. Bye.